Good morning, everyone. It's me again, Aziz, and today we're going to be covering yet another topic, which is called listening. Let me first ask you all a question, or only do I have this kind of feeling? Eh, we don't know. So, do you ever feel like you understand English words, yet as soon as English native speakers start to talk fast, it just sounds like a bunch of noise to you? And you're like, what? Is it even legal? But in my opinion, yeah, that's pretty much fair because, English is not just about vocabulary. And that's why today I came up with 6 tips which helped me to score 8.5 from IELTS listening. And pretty much after having applied all those rules into my personal life, I have never had like a bunch of crazy issues with listening. I can pretty much understand any kind of accent at this point, even back in those days, like 2021. Not a big deal. So, yeah, let's dive in. Tip number 1, start training your ears by listening to slow or clearly spoken English. That's the term I came up with. So, what I mean is basically if you're really struggling to understand fast paced English, right? Just start watching content which is designed for learners or spoken clearly. What I mean is like you don't need to jump into crazy fast native level podcasters, but pretty much like many people tend to do so and fail dramatically. You will get just sick of it, you will get bored, you won't understand, you will feel anxiety and you will feel depressed because of that, because you're not understanding and so on and so on. So instead, what I want you to do is to start watching the content creators, for example, who speak English as their second language. Or what's more, my favorite ones is to start watching cartoons or anime. Why? Because in all those 3 scenarios, people tend to speak clearly. Because people who speak as their second language, we naturally speak more clearly because we've learned it more grammatically. And in cartoons, they are made for like teenagers or sometimes for adults too, but anyways. And the level of English used in those scenarios are pretty much like for everyone. And you're not going to have much of crazy terms which you're going to be like sitting like, what does it mean? Yeah, just start by watching those. For example, me, I still remember the time when I first watched the Kung Fu Panda series, which my teacher shared, like after, it was like a couple of hundreds episodes. After having watched like 100 plus episodes, I made so much great progress because I've been noting down the words that I wasn't familiar with and pretty much learning them. And the interesting thing is that you don't have to like actively learn those words too. You just can watch it and just write that down and passively, because those words are gonna be repeated like 100 times after like each episode. So yeah, start by watching those cartoons, anime, or bloggers as their second language, because those will help you to adjust your brain to catch words and the way they are pronounced. And after some time, as your brain gets faster at recognizing words and sounds, only then you can move to higher level complex material. Yeah, that's pretty much my number 1 tip. The next one, tip number 2, learn phrases and connected speech, not just individual words. So another major issue why English learners tend to struggle to understand native speakers is because of connected speech. Connected speech is when 3, 4, 5 words get blended together in real conversation. For example, native speakers might say, instead of like saying, what do you want to do? They might say like, what do you want to do? And you're like, what? This would sound completely different if you're used to learn words only one by one, right? That's why it's so important to learn chunks and phrases, not just vocabulary. Because native speakers don't speak in isolated words. Instead, they use patterns and common expressions like let me instead of let me to, or gonna instead of going to, or gotcha, right? And these phrases are everywhere on podcasts, TV shows, you name it. Like anywhere you just go, especially like these days, just everyone uses them. And if you want to get better at those, I would recommend the best thing I believe will be YouTube. Anyways, you can just on YouTube just search like connected speech and find bunch of expressions like common expressions and those patterns and just write them down and try to learn like 4 or 5 each day, because the more your ear gets used to hearing English this way, the easier it will be for you to understand English, which is fast and natural English, right? And that's all what you need. And so next one, tip number 3, practice shadowing, echoing the real speech. And shadowing is such a powerful technique. In my personal view, it's the most powerful one. Yet it's so underrated. But no wonder that this technique is used so by so many polyglots and language learners worldwide. And the idea is so simple. You just listen to a short segment, a few seconds, and immediately repeat what you hear, copying. This one is important, like copying the speaker's speed, pronunciation, rhythm, and more importantly, intonation. Yeah, it might feel awkward at first because you're like, what? Why should I be repeating? But no, trust me, that's what helped me to learn 2 foreign languages, English and Russian. And it's helping me now to learn Polish and Turkish languages. It's kind of more of mimicking the way the native speakers say things, like pronounce certain words, right? And over time, trust me, it significantly boosts your ability to process fast speech. And more importantly, it helps you to boost your confidence because you're really like, oh, of course, this word is pronounced this way because I've heard it like billions of times pronounced by native speakers. And they're like, yeah, of course, I'm sure. And at the same time, you're going to be making so much progress. And for this technique, you may use many more materials, for example, like TED Talks, podcasts, TV shows, your favorite films, cartoons, whatever. But the key thing is here to start slowly and gradually increase the length of chunks of audio. And that's pretty much it. I bet you try that technique. I really love it. And that's it, yeah. So tip number 4, start listening to podcasts or audiobooks while doing your everyday tasks. And this habit is so underrated, yet you would be amazed at how much knowledge you can gain just by listening to something during your everyday tasks, right? For example, whether you're commuting to work, to school, or doing some cleanups, or maybe you work as an Uber driver in a part-time job, instead of just wasting your time and scrolling on your phone, throw on a podcast. And as you know, we're living in the golden age of podcasting. And based on your English level, you can find so many podcasters and long format video makers. It's impossible not to practice it. And trust me, it will not only improve your listening, but also you're gonna become like really crazy educated person, I would say, because I'm mesmerized by so much stuff like being done through podcasting. And trust me, over time, your hearing will naturally improve at understanding English. So give it a shot. So tip number 5, reflect on what you heard, don't just listen passively. And unfortunately, just listening isn't quite enough. If you want real improvement, real serious improvement, you just need to think about what you heard. I mean, after having finished the podcast, video clip, or audio clip, you just need to take a minute and reflect on yourself. Ask yourself questions. What was the main idea here? What 3 most important phrases or words that I remember? What kind of emotion was the speaker trying to use or use it? And so on. Because this type of self-check helps you to build stronger memory and at the same time has makes you to have deeper understanding of the topic. And even better, you can just try retelling the things that you heard on a podcast with your own words. You can just do it like by saying it out loud or like texting a friend. For example, I tend to do that most of the time. I text some of my friends who speak English and I show a topic that I had a podcast about and ask their opinion. And I share some of my own opinion and, of course, some of the ideas from the podcast that I just listened to. And it's incredible. I'm just making so much progress lately. And the main goal here is to process what you heard on a podcast, not just letting it go in one ear and out the other. So, tip number 6, join English speaking clubs or language exchange. And this is our final tip. And if you really want to reach the next level in your English proficiency, there is no better way than having a real time conversation. What I mean is, like, whether it's a speaking club, language cafe, or even an online exchange, it doesn't matter. Because all this will give you the chance to hear real life English with different accents, with different intonation, and it has its own beauty. And you can even sometimes hear their own slang. Yeah. And it not only boosts your listening, but it also gives you a crap loads of confidence. Why? Because the more you hear and respond in English in real time, the more fluent and better you will become. And there is no need to worry about like making mistakes. Yeah, everyone makes one, so what's the problem? You should be instead focusing more on just keeping the conversation going. I mean, for example, if you started from like the most complex topics ever, you can just even end up with like what's your favorite pet. It doesn't matter. Your job is here to just listen with crazy amount of attention and try to have good follow-up questions. That's your number one goal, right? And keep that going for a couple of weeks, months, and you're definitely going to notice the improvement. It's gonna be huge, trust me. And if you're too much of a shy person, you can try like voice only chats because like you can join some casual groups where you can talk about your favorite topics like about books, animals, I don't know, globalization, whatever. You can join them and just send your voice messages back and forth, and that's it. But overall, if it's in real life, try to keep the conversation as long as possible. And that way, real life experience is like irreplaceable. So if you can do it, try your best. Good luck.